Got the top 16 out of Chile, weekly wins, and weekly tops as well. Before we dig into all the data here, we have our field centers up right now. As of filming, this is about 15 of them left, so I'll leave a link down below so you can grab yours today. Don't big 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. One passed me over the top 16 out of Chile. I would have a top 32 breakdown for you, but we're missing, as of filming this, 5 list, and I don't think anybody really... We have a YCS starting tomorrow. So what we have out of top 16 for Chile, remember we did the top 8, it was like 6 cashed here. Top 16 had 7 cashed here in it, but this tells a much different story than we'd seen for a majority of the format here, where because, you know, it was big, cool, scary. So 7 cashed here, which is fine. We had 2 super heavy samurais in top cut, which is not horrible, actually. It definitely proves that, like, the comparison shift in things in the meta wasn't quite where we had really expected, especially, you know, when you're looking at the top end spinning down here. And then we had 2 Labyrinth decks in the top for the YCS, which I actually think is also pretty interesting. Labyrinth did not make it past, you know, top 30 or top 16, unfortunately. Both ended up losing, but, you know, the fact that they were able to kind of push their way into the top cut and actually do things, which was good. We also had that Dragon Link player, which we knew did make their way into top 8, which I still gotta clap. I think that, you know, Dragon Link out here pushing through, you know, the cesspool that is, you know, the top end of the format is pretty impressive. We also had Runic Stun make its way into top cut as well. Now, personally, this is a huge win for me. Anytime that we can see, you know, Runic do its thing. We already talked about the list earlier in the week on the channel. We saw, like, the differences in things here for how that deck was kind of aiming to set up for the format. Also, to be fair, I believe they had to play against the anti-meta deck in top cut. Stun could have made its way from top 32 up into top 16 had it not had to play against a Runic Stun of all things. And then we also had a Despia player make their way in to the top cut as well. And I mean, to be honest with you, Despia, I keep saying this, but it's struggle busting out here. It really is. I mean, we'll have to wait and see if Philly tells a different story this weekend, but it has not been a fun time out here for Despia players, actually. I feel really, really bad for them out here. And then, of course, we had a Purely player kind of bringing it up here on the back end as well. But, I mean, looking at your top 16 out of YCS Chile, everything is as you would kind of expect, right? Like, you have the standard metagame doing its thing with, you know, the top end, and then you start to unfold things down here into the standard, more control-ized variations of things, and then you have Despia. Like, it's a story that I think will continue to tell itself here, but compared to, like, top 32, I mean, you'll have more cash playing out and more things like that, but I hope that this paints the picture for YCS Chile. We're going to pass on over so you can take a look at weekly wins. Hey, it's the weekly win guide. Team Set Pass put this all together. Weekly wins for this week. Kashtira had 7 of them things, which... okay, I mean, for the amount of wins and things that you kind of pressure through here in the top cut, seeing a top end heavy number like that is not that bad in my personal opinion. It's this week compared to other previous weeks has been by far one of the most balanced that I have seen. All right, and it took what, like 3 weeks into the format here for that to actually happen. So I think that that's something that you really got to consider here too, is the fact that it took so long for other decks to kind of edge out some wins is kind of impressive. Purely had 4 wins this week, which is also kind of impressive in my personal opinion. Compared to, like, Kashtira, it's on the downward spiral of things, but, like, I still think that that's pretty interesting to take note of here. And then, of course, I see we have 2 Despia wins out here. Hey, you know what? Despia players, I think, will be happy to know that, hey, you know, we got somewhere out here in terms of wins. Super Heavy Samurai topples it over with 3 wins, which is also kind of impressive. Super Heavy, I mean, getting, you know, outgrinded by Purely. Didn't really expect to see that here. We had 2 Sprite wins, okay, 2 Labyrinth wins, and then we had 1 Math Mech win here as well. So kind of looking at, like, overall win percentiles here, the mid-range rogue category is doing relatively well. And that's fine. Even like at week 3 here, you're seeing more of these rogue options stepping up to the meta and going, hey, like, we're here, we're actually relevant. You need to be aware that, we're competing decks. And I think that that's a good thing at the end of the day. Now, this is where things always turn into a ride. Weekly tops. Oh, baby. Kashtira had 84 tops with Super Heavy Samurai behind it at 36. That's more than double the next closest available deck to it. How insane is that? That you are able to see that big of a difference between what was projected to be the second best deck versus the best deck in the room. I think that tells a crazy story in and in itself. Now, I see that we also have Despia coming in at 3rd this week, actually. There's other decks aren't too far behind it, but Despia actually kind of far behind Super Heavy Samurai with only 22 tops this week. The sad part is only 2 of those Despia players could actually, close the gap between the rest of the meta, which is also kind of sad, actually. When you're kind of looking at things here and you're like, wow, like, did they perform? Unfortunately, only 2 of them were able to perform up to expectations, so giggity. We had 19 Labyrinth on the follow-up for this week. I'm also not too entirely shocked to see that. All real things considered with Labyrinth, it's a fantastic control deck. You had as many Labyrinth players finish this week as Despia players, which I actually consider that a hilarious thing in and itself, that 2 Labyrinth players are able to pull out wins versus 2 Despia players. So let that be a lesson for you here. All right, you really have some pretty big consideration here. Now, what's also more impressive about this is Purely had only 15 tops this week. But of those 15, we saw that 4 of those were wins. That's definitely something impressive as well out here. We also had 14 Sprite in the top cut as well, from what we have reported. Okay. We had 12 Mathmech. Mathmech, I will say, has been a little bit all over the place. It's definitely doing its thing. Now, do keep in mind down here, we do have Marincess getting 6 tops this week in comparison to Dragon Link's 5. Marincess is getting more tops than Dragon Link is. Take a second to actually mentally process that Dragon Link has underperformed in comparison to Marincess, of all things. And technically Trap Tricks, actually, too, because Trap Tricks did have 5 tops. Last format, Trap Tricks was a deck you could pick up and do well with, but it is not doing good right now. I also want to point out here that Naturia Runic only had 3 tops this week, which is very, very interesting. That's not good. And then Flaunderies got 3 more in top cut as well. Actually, Flaunderies, if they are able to not lose to a Droll and Lockbird, they do pretty well. Also on this list, we had 4 Sword Soul. Sword Soul, it's still old reliable. It still kind of brings up the rear end and does its thing here. Now we kind of get into, you have Eldritch that got some tops this week. It had 3 of those. Rika had 3 as well. Somehow Salamangreat got in a top. Manadium had a top as well. Same thing with Virtual World. Plunder Patrol had 2 tops, which I'm not all that surprised about that. Runic Stun, Anti-Meta, and even Teller Knights pulled off a top. When you're getting into like the abnormality category down here in the 1-ups, you see so many cool things actually happening. And I think it's what makes Yu-Gi-Oh! A very interesting experience overall, is just, the ideas the players bring to the table, the success rate that we see with these things, and overall just, wow, like, that's the format. So that is weekly tops in a nutshell here for everything that we have on our desk. Obviously, there's question marks that we can't fill in. A lot of effort was made to even be able to get this. So, I mean, you could always add more cache tier into the pile. You know, maybe another abnormality or two can always pop up. But, you know, the player base can only physically gather so much info. So this is what we're sitting on for this week. So, everybody going to YCS Philly, good luck, Duelist. And I hope that the numbers will guide you. And I hope that you guys are doing well out there. Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a good format, right, guys? Right? Leave a comment down below to what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.